And welcome back. We're going to change the subject a little. New York Times correspondent Jodi Kantor, the author of The Obamas, a book that's caused quite a stir at the White House, is with us this morning. Jodi, welcome. I got to tell you something. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm well into this book, and I find it quite complimentary to Mrs. Obama in a funny kind of way. You talk about what a strong woman she is, about how strong their marriage is. Yet the White House is acting, they don't seem to like it at all. Are you surprised about their reaction?
I am. They've done some strange things. You know, they've anonymously accused me of doing things like lying about how many White House parties I've attended, but they haven't challenged the central tenets of the reporting. And the book is really a narrative of arrival and adjustment. It's about these two people who were appealing to the nation in part because they were so fresh to political life, and they come to Washington and the White House, and they're like strangers in a strange land. And it was reported in cooperation with the White House, and it really tells the story of both their personal and political adjustment and their successes and their failures.
You know, it was kind of interesting. Mrs. Obama did an interview with Gayle King on our CBS This Morning broadcast last week, and she said she hadn't read the book, did not intend to read the book. And she's talking in the interview, I want to play a little of it for you here, about a reported incident between her and her husband's staff. Listen to this.
I guess it's more interesting to imagine this conflicted situation here and a strong woman and but that's been an image that people have tried to paint of me since, the day Barack announced that I'm some angry black woman.
Did you try to portray her as an angry black woman?
No, not at all. Those words aren't in the book. There's nothing that implies that she is. She is portrayed as a very strong woman, and her narrative is very dramatic because she gets to the White House and her initial landing is quite difficult. But the thing is, we see in scene after scene, anecdote after anecdote, directly reported with her aides, that she really turns it around. And the twist of the book is that by the summer, when I finished my reporting, aides from both the East and the West Wings told me that they thought Mrs. Obama was doing better in some ways than the president was, because he came to Washington on top of the earth and has kind of been descending to earth ever since. And Mrs. Obama came here with low expectations and exceeded them.
Well, you really did, I think, pull the curtain back a little bit about how things work in the White House. And lo and behold, like every White House I've ever known, there are some people there that just don't like one another. But particularly, you talked and you had direct quotes from Robert Gibbs, the president's press secretary, about Valerie Jarrett, who is one of the Obama's best friends and now serves as a senior advisor. I mean, he really talked to you with the bark off about that.
Yeah, one thing that my reporting did show is that we've talked so much about the president surrounding himself with this small circle of advisors, and my reporting really showed that this small circle is not as united as most of us have thought it was. The quotes from Robert Gibbs they're extremely strong. He accuses Valerie on the record of being manipulative. He says he stopped taking her seriously as an advisor to the President of the United States, that she promotes herself at the expense of others. Now, other colleagues defended Valerie, to be fair, but I think the question going into 2012 is A, what kind of management skills has Barack Obama shown in the White House? We saw the news a few days ago about his new chief of staff. And second of all, is this group still united enough to function effectively in the campaign?
Jodi, it's a fascinating insight into this White House, and thank you for being with us this morning.